Chapter 18, Dr. Doctor. I just stepped out of my laboratory for a moment to see what all the hullabaloo was about, purred Dr. Doctor. The science teacher was tall and elegant with a shock of white like a lightning bolt going through the middle of her black hair. Is your name Dr. Doctor? Asked Larka. No, she stated firmly. Being named Dr. Doctor would be ridiculous. My name is Dr. Doctor. That's what I just said, replied Larka. Dr. Doctor. Dr. Doctor. Dr. Doctor. Dr. Doctor. Larka was mightily confused. It doesn't sound any different to me. The science teacher's red eyes narrowed as the librarian looked on, concerned that the mood was taking a dark turn. I am a doctor, and my surname is Doctor. Doktur. So I am Dr. Doctor. Doctor is completely different from doctor. Well, it's spelt differently, scoffed Larka, and doctor sounds completely different from doctor. And a tiny bit different. Hey, Doctor. Began the girl. She just couldn't help herself. As a lover of silly jokes, someone with a funny name was comedy gold. I feel like a pair of curtains. Well, pull yourself together, Doctor. I've swallowed my pocket money. Take this and we'll see if there's any change in the morning, Doctor. I think I need glasses. You certainly do. This is a fish and chip shop. Ha ha, chuckled Dunk. I hadn't heard that last one. So answer me this, Doctor, said Larka as she skipped around her. Why did you put this meteor here? I didn't, she answered, as if we were practicing at lying. It must have just landed here, hence the hole. No, snapped Larka, losing her cool. Bug was sitting right there. He took off and zoomed through the roof. Now it was the doctor's turn to laugh. It was a mocking laughter. She looked over at Dunk, who dutifully joined in. Ha 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 ha! That must be why you were sent here to the cruel school, purred Doctor, for lying. Larka felt rage rising up from her toes, but before it came out of her mouth in a torrent of anger, words just managed to stop herself. No, she replied calmly, I'm not a liar. I was sent here for putting a whoopee cushion on the headmistress's chair, but I didn't do it. Of course you didn't, chirped the teacher. What a loathsome little liar. I am not a liar. My parents taught me right from wrong. Oh, did they really? And where are they now? Gone, said the orphan with sorrow in her eyes. And if they were here now, they would be ashamed of you. Just look at you. You are the perfect picture of guilt. Miss Dunk, I suggest you call for metal to have this hole in the roof repaired. In the meantime, if you will excuse me, I must return to my detention. With that, the teacher did a little curtsy and waltzed towards the door. Larka summoned up all of her courage to shout after her, Stop right there! Chapter 19, Dunking Disaster. The shock of being shouted at did indeed stop the teacher in her tracks. Dr. Doctor was a lady who oozed malevolence. No one ever shouted at her. Her red eyes widened in disbelief before a sinister smile crept across her face. I do believe the new girl, began Doctor, is already barking orders at the teachers. I didn't want to be rude, but, spluttered Larka. Oh, she didn't want to be rude. Did you hear that, Miss Dunk? The librarian looked up from her tea. I am so sorry, I wasn't listening. I was too busy doing a difficult double dunk. True to her word, Dunk did not indeed have not one but two chocolate fingers in her fingers, 2 chocolate fingers that she was dunking together like synchronized swimmers in her now distinctly chocolatey tea. Dunk the chocolate fingers in. Hang on. Dunk the chocolatey fingers in her tea for too long and they melted. Plop, plop. No, wailed Dunk. It is a dunking disaster. I saw what I saw, Doctor, protested Larka. But Bug couldn't have zoomed up through the air. Why not? Because right now he's in my science laboratory taking detention. Larka was speechless for a moment before uttering, "But that's impossible." "It's not impossible, it's true. Please come and see for yourself." Chapter 20. A Wonderland of Weirdness. After hurrying along the maze of hallways, Doctor and Larka reached the science laboratory. The teacher swung open the door and performed a little bow of her head. "Please, after you," she gestured towards her enormous classroom, letting Larka step inside first. A bulky man in a too small lab coat and thick red rubber gloves was standing in front of a boy with his back to Larka. The man smiled sinisterly, revealing all silver teeth. He had a shiny bald head, not that you could see it because squatting right there on top, acting as a wig, was a cat. A real live cat named Fiend. The cat may have only had one eye and one leg, but she still made a wildly unconvincing wig. However, a cat is not the absolute worst animal you could choose to disguise your baldness. A squirrel's bushy tail would have made it a dead giveaway. Nibble, nibble, nibble. A tarantula would weave a web over your face, and before you knew it, you would not be able to see a thing. Spin. A rabbit spends all of its time munching carrots. No one wants a head of hair that chomps. Munch. Owls would scratch your head with their sharp talons. Scratch, scritch, scratch, scratch. A small bear, even a baby one, is far too heavy. Doof. Monkeys just can't sit still. They would leap around on their bottoms. Boing, boing, boing. An otter is way too slippery and would slide straight off. Slip. A sheep would make far too much noise. Bah! A penguin might lay an egg on your head. Plop. Foxes pong, and they hate shampoo and conditioner. Pong. Grunt had on a pair of very strange round glasses. They weren't the kind of you could see through. Instead, there was a spiral in each lens which was spinning. The effect was hypnotizing. "Take those off, Grunt," snapped Doctor. Grunt swiped off the glasses and hid them in his laboratory coat pocket. The one-legged cat woke up and hissed. Hiss! Looking at Doctor and Grunt, Larka realized they were the figures whose shadows she'd seen in the hallway just before the end of the school. "What are those glasses for?" she asked. "Just silly spectacles to amuse the kiddywinkies," replied Doctor. "I asked him," said Larka. Doctor's expression soured. "I am afraid my laboratory assistant Grunt is a man of few words. Indeed, no words. He doesn't speak at all," asked Larka. "Oh no, he communicates only in grunts. Don't you, Grunt?" Grunt replied in reply. "What did that mean?" asked Larka. "Yes," replied Doctor. "One grunt for yes, two grunts for no." Grunt grunted in agreement. Larka scoured the science laboratory. It was a wonderland of weirdness. The classroom was dominated by a huge stained glass window, like those you might see in a church, except this stained glass window depicted Dr. Doctor herself. The science teacher was shown smiling sinisterly with bits and bobs of science equipment floating around her. "So she's full of herself," thought Larka, though she didn't dare say it. As you might expect from a laboratory, there were chemical charts and diagrams on the walls, racks of test tubes on shelves, and jumbles of metal boxes with wires poking out scattered everywhere. Jars with all sorts of strange pickled creatures in them were gathering dust. A 3-winged pelican, a 9-legged octopus, a 2-tailed baby shark. Plus there were stuffed animals, arranged in enormous glass tanks. A flock of dodos, a saber-toothed tiger, a vulture in flight, a black rhinoceros. A giant bat, a howling wolf on 2 legs, which looked more like a werewolf, a woolly mammoth, a crocodile with one large eye in the middle of its head like a cyclops, a white-haired gorilla with dazzling scarlet eyes, conjoined twin polar bears with 2 roaring heads. Curiously, there was also clockwork toys that looked as if they'd been handmade. Life-size clockwork robots of an owl, a rabbit, and a tortoise. Next to them was a wax head of Dr. Doctor herself, which looked hauntingly real. On a huge shelf above, there was a chunk of Moon rock, a cooled down lump of what once was molten lava, presumably from the volcano, and next to it a wide, empty space where only dust remained. Larka's mind began whirring. Was this where the meteor had come from? On a higher shelf crouched a huge machine with a thick set of wires spun around in a coil. What's that? Asked Larka, pointing to it. Oh, you haven't been concentrating in science class, have you? Purred Doctor. We will have to arrange extra lessons. This is an electromagnet. What's it for? Let me show you. Grunt, you don't mind, do you? Replied Grunt, which means no. Splendid, announced Doctor. Grunt was metal teeth because he ate too many sweets. And when I flicked the switch, Grunt grabbed onto the nearest counter and the cat dug her claws into his head. They knew what was coming. Doctor flicked the switch on the electromagnet. The machine hummed and Grunt took off flying headfirst across the laboratory. Whoosh! Metal teeth. That's the end of the reading for today. Next time we will have a reading of Metal Teeth. Chapter 21. Alright, bye for now.